Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the quarterly meeting of the Tennessee Board of Regents on an amazing Tennessee day. And speaking of amazing, what a morning you've had at this place with the judging, with our SOAR finalists across several categories, just a chance for us all to be together. It is a real honor to be in this room with this assembly of talent who represent the Tennessee Board of Regents, and we are proud to know each and every one of you, so thank you. Chancellor, before we start to call the roll, any opening comments?
I just want to lean into what you're saying. We are so proud of each and every person that has participated in our SOAR events, in getting ready for our SOAR events. This is just an exciting time for our state. And so thank you to all the presidents who have made this happen on your campus, and then for being here in the meeting today. We are really looking forward to a great 2 days. It's going to be an exciting time tonight with our legislators, tomorrow morning again with legislators over at their home, and then the SOAR event tomorrow night. So truly looking forward to celebrating each and every one of you.
There's a lot going on, and I have never seen this parking lot as full as it is today. So that was exciting. I'm like, what happened here? So that was exciting in and of itself. Just a reminder to everyone as we come to order, we are being live streamed and recorded. The meeting will be archived per state law, just as a reminder, but welcome all. Kate, with that, first of all, let me say in Mariah's absence, with that sweet baby, Kate, thank you for all you have done. You have done a stellar job, and we are so grateful. Absolutely seamless.
Thank you.
So with that, call the roll, please, ma'am.
Absolutely. For our regents that are in person, when I call your name, you may simply respond here or present. For our board members joining virtually, if you could kindly answer the 2 questions. First, can the regent simultaneously hear and speak with others participating in the meeting? Second, is the regent alone in the room? If the answer to both questions is yes, you can simply answer yes to both questions. Anyone who is not alone should identify any other people present in the room with the regent. Governor Lee. Regent Burdine.
Here.
Regent DeWitt. Present. Regent Gentile. Regent George.
Here and yes to both questions.
Regent Harrell.
Present.
Commissioner Hatcher. Regent Hooper.
Present.
Regent Kastner.
Here.
Regent Kelchin.
Here.
Regent Powers.
Here and yes to both questions.
Madam Chair Reynolds.
Here.
Commissioner Reynolds. Regent Richardson. Here. Regent Roberts.
Here.
Regent Spurgeon.
Here.
Regent Stevenson.
Here.
Regent Barlin.
Here.
Regent White. Madam Chair, you have a quorum.
Thank you very much. Regent White, by the way, I think has had some shoulder surgery yesterday or today, so hopefully he'll be doing well, but just didn't feel like he would be up for this today, which we can all certainly appreciate, so keep him in your thoughts. Let me also add, in Mariah's absence, and she does it every single day, just the tremendous role that Mary Ann Hammonds plays in keeping these trains running on time. So our thanks to you as well. By the way, is there a certain psychology, does anyone know, between those who say present and those of us who say here? I was wondering that as we call the roll. Just might be an interesting little study. You have in our board meeting materials, our minutes from December 10. Does anyone have any corrections or changes to those as you've read them in preparation for today? Hearing none, these minutes may be approved by unanimous consent since they are non-controversial and routine in nature. But if you have any objection and would prefer a roll call vote, please say so. If there is no objection, we will now adopt the December 10 board meetings as written. Hearing no objection, the minutes are adopted. Next up is our interim action report from the chancellor.
I don't know who that interim chancellor
I know.
is.
That was
Something we don't know.
Don't read anything into that.
The interim action report was included in the materials made available to all board members prior to our meeting today. This report constitutes a record of business transacted by the Office of the Chancellor since the previous quarterly meeting of the board. Madam Chair, pending any questions, I recommend the board's approval of the report of interim action.
Any questions for the Chancellor on the interim action report? Hearing none, this too is a non-controversial and routine item for us. I would propose we ratify this by unanimous consent, but of course, if there is any objection, we will have a roll call vote. Hearing no objection, the interim action report is confirmed and adopted. Thank you all. Regent Burdine, you have a report from the Audit Committee.
Yes, ma'am, I do. Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. The Audit Committee met in regular session on 18 February 2025 to review and recommend approval of the following items: external miscellaneous reviews, federal audits, Comptroller's Office audits, and internal audit reports, system-wide internal audit updates, fiscal year 2025 internal audit plan revisions, a revised internal audit charter template, and a revised audit committee charter template. Madam Vice Chair, this concludes my report for the 18 February 2025 Audit Committee meeting. As committee chair, I move that the board approve the report for the 18 February 2025 meeting of the Audit Committee as presented.
Thank you, Regent Burdine. We have a motion from the committee to approve the Audit Committee meeting minutes. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Regent Varlin. Any other comments or discussion? Hearing none, this one will require a roll call vote. Kate?
Regent Burdine,
Aye.
Regent DeWitt. Aye. Regent George,
Aye.
Regent Harrell,
Aye.
Regent Hooper,
Aye.
Regent Kastner,
Aye.
Regent Kelchin,
Aye.
Regent Powers,
Aye.
Madam Chair Reynolds, Regent Roberts,
Aye.
Regent Spurgeon,
Aye.
Regent Stevenson,
Aye.
and Regent Berlin.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you all very much. We'll now turn to the Chancellor for her report, and we have a couple of interesting reports today, as always.
Absolutely. And first, I would like to start out today just issuing a few congratulations, because we've had a lot of great things happening in the last month and a half. The first thing I would like to do is recognize Chattanooga State. Rebecca, would you please stand and let us give you a huge congratulations. Chattanooga State was recognized as the Leah Meyer Austin Award winner for Achieving the Dream, one of only 2 in the nation and one of only 24 colleges since Achieving the Dream began that have received this very prestigious award. Based on the work that they've been doing with student success and moving students through their programs of study, they were recognized for the great work that all of the faculty, all of the team that Rebecca has led there. So a huge accomplishment. Could not be more proud of what they have done with this. And I have to say, I did start Achieving the Dream when I was there in 2016. So I'm also pretty proud that they were able to take this and run with it. But I also want to recognize that Chattanooga State and Pellissippi State, Dr. Wise, were both recognized as leader colleges. Again, a top honor with Achieving the Dream that very few colleges ever achieve. So congratulations to Dr. Wise and to Dr. Ashford. I'd also want to just make you aware of the Tennessee Department of Labor Workforce and Development announcement that came on Monday of the recipients of the first round of grants under Governor Lee's Rural Health Care Initiative. 9 of our colleges, plus the system office, will be receiving grants to improve the health care of Tennesseans. The initiative aims to expand the state's healthcare workforce by leveraging existing training structures and increasing apprenticeship opportunities in the field of healthcare. The TBR institutions that will be receiving the first round of grants are community colleges, Cleveland State, Nashville State, Northeast State, and Walters State Community College. Our TCATs are TCAT Athens, Dixon, Jacksboro, Knoxville, and Upper Cumberland. A huge congratulations to each and every one of these colleges for the grants that you wrote and the great work that you're going to be able to do with this rural health care grant that came out of Governor Lee's office. I also want to thank Jothany Reed for leading the systems work in this field and helping each of the colleges in writing their grants. And I'm also very pleased to report that Governor Lee has put more money in the budget or toward the budget this year that we hope will make it all the way through, that will again be available for grants in the next year, in the following year. And then I'd also like to announce that we've had 2 members of our president's group that have been elected to senior positions with COE, the Council on Occupational Education's Governing Board of Commissioners. Dr. Gwen Sutton from TCAP Memphis was named their chair at their meeting in Atlanta. And then Dr. Laura Travis was elected one of the 20-member Board of Commissioners. Congratulations. The Council on Occupational Education is a leading accreditor for more than 500 post-secondary occupational education institutions in 43 states and territories. So we're very proud that we have 2, one leading the commission and one a member of the commission. So thanks to both of you for that. And then 2 more presidents that I want to call out. Dr. Shauna Jackson was appointed by the Federal Reserve Board of the Governors to serve a 3-year term that runs through December 31st, 2027. She is one of 2 new members. And while we're talking about Federal Reserve, a little late in giving her congratulations, but thank you for your service, Dr. Tracy Hall has just rolled off her 3-year term on the Federal Reserve Board. So, as you can see, our presidents don't just do their day job. They are extremely busy people working hard within their communities and making things happen. And then last but not least, I want to recognize one more president who has a newly conferred doctoral degree, Dr. Jimmy Wright. He has just completed his doctoral degree from Morehead State University in Kentucky, and we are so proud of this wonderful accomplishment for him. Thank you, Jimmy. And now at this time, it is my pleasure to turn the podium over to Dr. Patrick Wade, who is going to introduce the rest of the team that's with him today. He is from, as you know, TCAP Murfreesboro Smyrna campus, which opened in 2017 and currently offers 6 full-time programs there. In one of the first public-private partnerships in our state, the building also houses the Nissan Training Center. In August of 2023, TCAP Murfreesboro and Nissan started strategizing ways to strengthen this partnership and take it to the next level. And after visiting over there about a month ago and listening to the next level that we have taken this partnership, I really wanted them to come and share this information with you today. Patrick, I'm going to turn it over to you to introduce our extremely wonderful partners and great friends.
Thank you so much, Chancellor Tidings, Vice Chancellor Reynolds, and members of the board and colleagues gathered here today. It's good to see everybody. So this project was strategically implemented by TCAP Murfreesboro and also Nissan. It has really allowed education and industry to take an in-depth look at processes. The collaborative communication has ensured that we are moving in sync with each other each week. Mr. Caldwell will be here to present the strategy of how the implementation on the Nissan side. Then we also have Mr. Jason Stanley, who is the senior manager of the Nissan training facility. Mr. Rodney Douglas is the faculty of the Nissan faculty that is now as a TCAT adjunct with 35 years of experience into the classroom now. And shining star, Mr. Carlos Castilla, who's in his 4th trimester as well. So now I would like to turn it over to Mr. Dan Caldwell to kind of go over the strategy, and then I'll be back up to introduce Mr. Rodney and also Mr. Carlos.
Just for some of our newer regents, Dan Caldwell has been a friend of ours for a long time, and he is one of those people who flunked at retirement. And we are so grateful to have you back at Nissan and in the fold. So thank you for being here
Thank
yet
you.
again.
You are so kind. You're so kind.
And also serves on our foundation.
Okay.
With Regent Varlin and others. Yes. So thank you. Okay. So, Chancellor Tidings, Vice Chair Reynolds, Regents, and distinguished guests. Again, I'm Dan Caldwell with Nissan. In September, Nissan brought our industry expertise to the classroom by staffing all 5 instructor roles in TCAT's IEM program. Now, to be clear, this is TCAT's program teaching TCAT students, that's anyone from the community who wishes to pursue a career in industrial maintenance. Nissan, our suppliers, and other local employers will hire the program's graduates. There's no obligation or expectation that a graduate will go to work for Nissan. Now, this is a win-win for both organizations, helping TCAT to stay current with technological advancements, emulate the industrial environment, and stabilize instructor recruiting and retention. At Nissan, we are implementing a global maintenance skill program that will upskill our own maintenance workforce in advanced technologies. So by partnering with TCAT, we are reinforcing foundational skills so that new hires are ready to accelerate into advanced corporate training when they come on board with us. To bring this partnership to life, we assembled a cross-functional team that applied Nissan's global problem-solving methodology, Value Up. That's our version of Six Sigma. TCAT's Jeff Hopkins represented TCAT on the crew, along with Nissan employees from training, maintenance, production, and HR. Now, it is uncommon for someone outside the company to participate in an internal Nissan project, and Jeff's participation is a reflection of our unconventional partnership. During the project, we anticipated and mitigated risk that could derail the project team's activities, as well as anything that could compromise a successful deployment. And due to the sensitive nature of the project, confidentiality was key, and I'm proud to share that this team did not leak any information during the 8 months leading up to a formal announcement. The team interviewed internal and external stakeholders, and we also spoke with former students and a former adjunct instructor, that's our customers, and we didn't blow our cover. We took those voices of customer and stakeholder and translated them into actionable tasks with a timeline for completion. This kept us on track and enabled us to launch right on schedule. Our HR director asked that we maintain a pathway for Nissan's incumbent production technicians who wish to pursue a career in maintenance. So we spun off a one-day project and developed 5 levels of competency and expertise in operator-driven reliability. Participants learn to care for equipment and diagnose common faults, and that leads them toward further training at TCAT. To ensure that we select the right people and to prevent putting them in a closed-ended assignment, we created an interrelationship diagram showing routes into and out of the instructor role. The 5 arrows coming in show prerequisite roles, while the 5 arrows going out show career opportunity. And for clarity, we did not map every role to retirement, so it appears that the only route to retirement is through TCAT. And I think President Wade is fine with that. When Nissan posted the instructor roles, we extended the opportunity to current TCAT IEM instructors. And after rigorous interviews with candidates teaching a simulated lesson, we filled the roles with 3 Nissan candidates and 2 current TCAT instructors. This provided continuity in classroom management, in grading, and in record keeping. To ensure a successful implementation, we carefully communicated the change to students and stakeholders. From day one, we emphasized safety and attendance, 2 non-negotiables in industry, and instructors were intentional in building rapport with students. We've also built in opportunities and expectations for day and afternoon instructors to collaborate with each other. We've evaluated the program's equipment, and we're modifying and upgrading it to meet industry needs. Every Thursday morning, President Wade and Nissan's training leadership team evaluate our implementation progress, and we move forward together with one voice. We have expanded and engaged the advisory board, and they have contributed to a subtle yet important reorder of the curriculum that follows the Industrial Revolution. We're currently working with TBR Academic Affairs to meet all requirements and deadlines for launch this September. So at this time, I'll turn it over to President Wade to share some of our successes.
Thank you, Mr. Dan. So as Mr. Caldwell mentioned, this is a win-win situation for TCAT Murfreesboro and also Nissan. Industries in our community, they are in full support of this partnership, and they are commending us each and every day. This is truly a model that we are fortunate to be part of, and not only are we sharing a remarkable building, but we're also sharing resources and strengthening our partnership to enhance the community and workforce that we serve. So now I have the opportunity to introduce kind of the shared impact of the partnership by introducing Mr. Rodney Douglas, who is one of our 5 adjunct instructors, and also Mr. Carlos Castilla, who is in his 4th trimester and one of 100 students currently enrolled. Mr. Douglas, like I said, recently celebrated 35 years at Nissan. He says he's a spring chicken, we'll see. But when he entered the classroom, he had such passion and knowledge that truly impacts our students in a positive manner. He's preparing each student for the expected and unexpected task of their job. Following Mr. Douglas will be Mr. Castillo, who has and continues to impress faculty and industries each day. Seeing his passion to learn and grow is truly setting him up and his family for success. As a member of National Technical Honor Society, he is the student that all industries want on their team and provides positive vibes for his classmates. So the impactful relationships with faculty and students is exactly what sets TCATS and our system so special. So please welcome Mr. Douglas and Mr. Castillo.
Good afternoon. Like I said, my name is Rodney Douglas. I've been in Nissan for 35 years. It's been told I got about at least 30 years of maintenance experience. And I've been given the opportunity to share my maintenance experience with the TCAT students and get them the information that we have to be good at what they're pursuing. So with that being said, we, like I said, I've given the opportunity to teach the maintenance, but also, you know, we use our advisory boards to also give their input on what their needs are. And to me, that was like, oh man, so everybody's in. So it's just not us, it's everybody. So we're giving the students the standards that they need, the information that they need. Prior, we could say, you know, the devil's in the details. They're getting all the details they need to move forward and have a prosperous future in maintenance. Like I always say, it's a great gig. But also, you know, my passion is training. We have the other 4 guys who are not here. Their passion is training, and we really get involved. We are on the floor with students all day long, bouncing back and forth. There's nothing more rewarding than to see these guys struggle, and then they come back and show me how it's done. And I love that. So also, like I said, we also give them so much confidence because they're getting exactly what we're doing inside our building right now, hands-on. And they're also, they're so confident because there's nothing worse than walking inside a building and seeing everything that you got to take care of. Puts a little fear in you. But these guys that we're working with now, the guys I'm working with as far as the trainers, with the students, man, it's totally different. So other than that, we love what we're doing. We think we're changing the game for the better. We haven't even really got started, but it's such a difference now if you come to check us out. it's just, we got a long way to go, but it's awesome. And we got a great group to do it with, so that's pretty much all I got to give you guys. So I'm gonna turn it back over. It's Carlos.
Hello everyone, my name is Carlos. Like they say, I'm a fourth trimester student. I've been present on the program before they got inside the program and after they took over. I personally like how the change's been. There's been new equipment, new ways to train us as a students. We have Mr. Rodney, who's been on Nissan or in maintenance for about 30 years. So he knows some things that you cannot even find in the book sometimes. And we also have Mr. Lee, that he's been a maintenance supervisor on Nissan for more than 10 years. So he knows how to guide us to have a professional attitude every day at the shop. Because at the end of the day, that's how are we gonna have to be in our jobs. I'd like to say that being on the program has opened many doors for me, and I'm sure for all of my classmates too. And we didn't get opportunities if we didn't be on that program now. And we also like about our trainers is like Mr. Rodney, Mr. Lee. They were in the same position that we are right now. Most of us, we're full-time employees, we're full-time students, and so they did back in the day. They were full-time students, full-time employees, go to work 8 hours a night, go to school 7 hours a day, and got a couple hours of sleep in between. So I'm glad they understand how it can be sometimes. You know, sometimes every day is that we are struggling to be awake, but you know, they find a way to get us engaged in class. And we're looking forward to keeping on our team and for also the people coming behind us. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Oh, wrong way, sorry. Learning as I go. So my name is Jason Stanley. I have the honor of being the Senior Manager for Manufacturing Workforce Development for Nissan US. So what you heard today, the partnership that we've established with TCAT Murfreesboro since 2017 and how we've grown that partnership over the past several years or several months, really, when you look at it, is just one small part of what we're doing in the industry to help build what we call the workforce of the future. So along with the IEM program at Murfreesboro this year, we also launched our Centers of Excellence programs at 4 high schools in southern Middle Tennessee in partnership with TCAT McMinnville and TCAT Shelbyville. And then as we look at how we continue to grow our employees, our internal employees, we have had the pleasure of working with Motlow State Community College on the Nissan University concept of bringing college to the workforce at our Deckard campus. And then we continue that for 4-year programs with MTSU. So as we close up, I hope that we have shared an opportunity for anyone who wants to come learn what we've done for us to share and for us to learn from them. I invite any of the regents, any of the presidents to please come see us, come talk to us, help us out, because at the end of the day, we're all in this together. No matter what you're doing in our world, we're all doing workforce development. We're all building the next generation, and we're all supporting the great people of the state of Tennessee. With that said, thank you very much.
All right, Chancellor. Thank you so much. Any questions?
Does anyone have questions for?
I do have a quick one to Patrick, to both you and our friends from Nissan. What, if anything else, can we be doing to support you all in this?
I think right now we're off to an outstanding start. Really just understanding what's happening. Probably one of the biggest things when we started the project, and Dan and Jason, they know this, is I was concerned with the public perception of what that would be. However, Nissan has really well communicated what's going on, and that it's not a Nissan program, it's a TCAP program, and we're rising the tide for everybody in our community. So to have that much quality and that much expertise in our program is tremendous. And so literally they are in our faculty staff meetings. They are going to participate during in-service. We are there with our student services, they're with financial aid. They are just like they're a part of TCAT. There's no difference. So the biggest thing is come and visit. That's probably the big, so you can see it firsthand. That way you can see the interaction with the faculty and the students.
Thanks, Patrick.
I say absolutely. One of the big things for us was we wanted to make sure that industries that, pull from the Murfreesboro campus understand this isn't Nissan taking over. This is us helping them, and that's the way we saw it. And one of the things, and I think Dan mentioned this during this presentation, is we had to make sure that our leadership and our teams were comfortable with, if these students never came work for us, would we still be doing what we're doing? And I'm very, very proud to say that our executive leadership is fully supportive of what we're doing in the industry. They see that this is an opportunity to grow the workforce, to give students who may not have seen this as an opportunity for career path, a very good career path, an opportunity to get there. So I would agree, just come see us. If you want to come visit, support, make sure that we're sharing the right message and we're doing it together.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you all for being here today. And as you can see, this partnership is unique. It is one that we couldn't do the level of quality of teaching without the expertise of somebody who's been in the field for the length of time that you have and now loves teaching. So thank you so much. We know that there's just going to be great outcomes from here on forward, and we're just so thrilled. Thank you. Thank y'all for being here to share that. Next in my report, my interim report, TBR strategic plan that we did back in 2021 is now due for a tune-up. And with Dr. Deaton at the helm, he is doing a great job laying the groundwork for us to implement our revised edition of our strategic plan. So I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Deaton to give you an update on where we are with our revisions.
Thank you, Dr. Tidings, Vice Chair Reynolds, and members of the board. It's a pleasure to come before you today to give you an interim report about the strategic plan, both where we have been and where we're going, and a bit of an overview of what we've been discussing during our activities since we last met. So for background, nope, because Zaddy told me which way. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, slow learner here. Well, the current strategic plan rests on these three pillars, and these are timeless classics for an open access system like TBR: completion, open access, and community workforce development, which I'll talk about more here in a minute. But as background, remember, this plan was initially adopted in 2015, tweaked a little bit in the post-focus world in 2017, and then genuinely updated in 2021 that this body saw when we were reckoning with the outcome of the pandemic and economic changes. Its entirety is centered around our mission of student success and workforce development, and it tries to also imbue within it the Drive to 55 as a foundation. That is still the state's master plan, still its overarching goal. That is grounded in our strategic plan at TBR. That plan was developed with a very broad sweep of voices, just like you'll see as we're doing this next cycle, both internal to TBR and external partners across the state and across the nation. It is not a static narrative. It was designed intentionally to be an interactive infographic. It's designed to be touched and felt and interacted with. Its design is to have the user drawn in and to learn more about what we're doing to pursue the ideals in the strategic plan. Of course, updated annually. As our activities change, as initiatives change, the plan itself, the interactive infographic part itself changes. All that supported by a metrics dashboard, which gives us a high-level look at how well we're doing across time. So those three pillars are indeed open access, which is unique among the governing boards within Tennessee. We're the only system that accepts all Tennesseans and meets them where they are, tries to overcome their challenges, whatever those may be. And the plan itself allows you to then see some initiatives that give life to that ideal. How are we trying to pursue the idea of open access? Allowing the user to click on those avatars, learn more about EPSOs or strategic enrollment management, get a sense of the data around that. The second one, of course, is completion. And again, this harkens back to the Drive to 55, trying to get more students with a credential and ready for the economy. And again, the plan allows you to interact with it, to learn more about what it means to be part of the Achieving the Dream experience, or how sales is impacting college readiness on our campuses. And the third pillar is community and workforce development. This one is easy to fall prey to just simply calling it workforce development, which is almost a cliche nowadays. But importantly, during the 2021 discussions, and I credit Tracy Hall with saying this, is that this is also important because we have an impact on our communities, on the people who live there, not just the economic conditions, but their lives and their futures. And so framing this one around the community development aspect was also really important for the current plan. So, as we move into this next review cycle, and we're starting from the notion as well, not that we throw all that out and start over, quite the contrary, we might indeed build from it and reassess where we are in light of today's events. But a steering committee has been formed by Chancellor Tidings to go through this process, and that includes folks from within the system. It includes 4 regions from this body. It includes partners from across state government, some of whom are here today, like Grace Shelton from DOE, and all across the K-12 and higher ed spectrum to try to get a sense of where TBR's direction ought to be. This steering committee has met once already. We had a meeting a few weeks ago where we didn't really delve into specifically what the plan should be. We instead stood back for a moment and asked ourselves, if you were building a community and technical college from the ground up today, what would you build? And without thinking about constraints related to financing or practicality, what would you want to build if you were building a system from the ground up today? And so that kind of drove our thought process in the first meeting. We'll meet again in a few weeks, and in the interim, we're talking with everyone we can find to get perspectives on the plan, get perspectives on the direction that TBR ought to be going. And the way I like to frame this is, when this body is sitting in the year 2035, reflecting back on what their predecessors did in 2025, will they be proud of the work they did and the vision they had going forward? So trying to talk to as many folks as we can. We had a lively meeting with SGA leaders from our campuses where we learned a lot of key insights. We've met with both the community college presidents and then separately the TCAP presidents. The leadership from the Business Roundtable was a great conversation. And also we met recently with our college access partners at Achieves and the Ayers Foundation. Again, all trying to get perspectives on who we are, how well we're fulfilling our mission, and where should we be going in the years ahead. Those are just some of the focus groups in the weeks ahead. We also hope to engage all of the various sub-councils. We've already met with the Business Affairs Sub-Council, thanks to Vice Chancellor Fox, Academic Affairs, Student Affairs, and faculty. Also, higher ed partners, getting perspectives from UT, TACUA, THEC, state government, and then importantly, some external perspectives from national partners who know us well, who've been involved in our work for decades now, and also have a sense of how other systems similar to us are dealing with the same challenges. So just a preview, as we've had these conversations, we've had some themes emerge, and none of these are suggestive of how we might change the plan necessarily yet, but we've seen some interesting feedback. For instance, we've heard a lot about the alignment challenge, how you properly align higher education programs and workforce and industry needs. And we've heard from both business and higher ed about sort of modernizing or redefining that business education partnership. How can business do more to help achieve our goals? How can we get better feedback from them throughout that process? Heard a lot about how to make the application and enrollment process easier for students, something that I know our new SIM division and Troy and Heidi and team are thinking a lot about. Also thinking about how we respond to each student's unique needs. We have students from a variety of backgrounds, making our mission more complex than anyone in the state and higher ed. How do we meet them where they are? And then finally, especially from students, we heard the imperative for meeting their basic needs, whether it's housing, food, you name it, and especially not just thinking about our main campuses, but from our off-campus sites and throughout the tapestry of TBR facilities around the state. We heard a lot from them about their need for us to really help them with the basics before they can even engage in academics. So with that is an overview of kind of where we have been and where we are going, and we look forward to bringing you further updates as this process unfolds. Again, the goal ultimately is to bring you back a recommendation in the September board meeting for your consideration at that time. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Russ, very much. Thanks to you and your team for the great job you're doing pulling all of this together. And we look forward to having more discussion on this, particularly at our retreat that we have planned in April. We'll be doing a session with all of the board members there to get your feedback and input into the strategic plan. So thanks to each of you. And Madam Chair, that completes my report for today.
Well, that was a good one. Thank you. Thank you, Russ, for all that you guys are doing on this. And I'm glad the board has a chance to engage here in the coming weeks as well. And to Dan and Mr. Stanley and Mr. Rodney, Mr. Staley, Mr. Rodney, and Carlos. Carlos, we look forward to hearing more about your future. Thank you. I know it's not, I guess you feel like you're spinning plates lots of days, but it will all be worth it in the end. So we're so grateful to see you today. And Mr. Rodney, on behalf of Spring Chickens Everywhere, keep going. We are grateful to you, and to Nissan. I just have to say, every time you walk in that facility, it's been a bright light for Tennessee since its opening, and we're just so grateful for the partnership. Thank you for joining us. Anybody else before we move on from the Chancellor's report? All right, thank you all once again. Danny Varlin, you were up next. We're talking about philanthropy a lot these next couple of days. So tell us about this most recent Regents Award.
I'm honored to do so. The Tennessee Board of Regents Award for Excellence in Philanthropy is a unique designation. Since 2003, TBR has been honoring the dedicated philanthropists and corporate partners who graciously donate their time and finances to TBR institutions through its Excellence in Philanthropy Awards. Today we'll acknowledge the award recipient from the presentation made on October 18th, 2024. The Arconic Foundation accepted the 2024 Regents Award for Excellence in Philanthropy as nominated by Pellissippi State Community College and TCAT Knoxville. The award was presented by Danny Varlin during a ceremony at Pellissippi State Community College's Blount County campus held on October 18, 2024. This nomination and award is reflective of the Arconic Foundation's long-standing commitment to higher education and workforce development in East Tennessee. With a giving history spanning more than 35 years, the Arconic Foundation has been pivotal in the development of the Pellissippi State Blount County campus. From the early days of transforming the Union School property to the establishment of the Ruth and Steve West Workforce Development Center in 2023, the foundation has always championed progress and innovation. Their support does not end there. The foundation has equipped students with the skills needed for successful careers in manufacturing and engineering, with a special emphasis on STEM education. Arconic's unwavering commitment to scholarships, state-of-the-art equipment, and hands-on training has inspired countless young minds to pursue careers in science, technology, engineering, and math. With more than $1.7 million in investments across Pellissippi State Community College, TCAT Knoxville, TCAT Morristown, the Arconic Foundation's impact is undeniable. Their partnership with these institutions, both as Arconic and formerly as Legacy Alcoa, has transformed lives and communities. On behalf of the Tennessee Board of Regents, we are proud to recognize the Arconic Foundation with the highest honor of excellence in philanthropy. For additional comments, please welcome Pellissippi State Community College President Anthony Wise.
Thank you, Regent Varlin, Chancellor Tidings, Vice Chair Reynolds, members of the board. It's great to be here. As Regent Varlin noted, Pellissippi State's had a 35-year relationship with Arconic in Blount County in East Tennessee. It started with a property that was acquired from Blount County Schools, the Union School property. It continued as we moved to the Bungalow School in 1991, and then when we opened our Friendsville campus in 2008, and finally with the addition of the new Ruth and Steve West Workforce Development Center just a few years ago. They provide innovative training opportunities. They train their workforce on our facility. They provide great opportunities for graduates, once they complete their coursework at Pellissippi State, they provide members of their staff to serve on the board of our foundation. In fact, our chair is currently Christy Newman, is chair of the Pellissippi State Foundation Board, a longtime member of the Arconic team. So we're just grateful for the support they provide that community, this college, Pellissippi State, and our partners at TCAT Knoxville.
Thank you. I would like to recognize TCAT Knoxville President, Dr. Kelly Cheney, for any additional comments.
Thank you, Regent Barlin. Vice Chancellor Reynolds, Chancellor Tidings, and members of the board, we are so excited at TCAT Knoxville for our relationship with Arconic Foundation and for Christy Newman for being the champion she is for philanthropy. She has helped our students. The Arconic Foundation has helped us with not only purchase equipment, but impacted at least 6 of our programs with upscaling equipment, safety devices, and other things that are needed. A couple of things that are out of the ordinary that you might see from the Arconic Foundation and Christy Newman is they are a strong supporter of our new makerspace and Maker by way of Maker USA. We just opened that space about 6 months ago and opened it up to our students and our community for lots of hands-on learning. Much of it is free. But students come in there in that space and really feel like they can build, do, and create and have lots of fun being innovative. Part of that is because of the Arconic Foundation behind the scenes helping us with that project. And one more project that's new and different that I would love to mention is Remake Learning Days. If you haven't heard of that, Remake Learning Days is a national movement where families and children and businesses and communities can come together for hands-on learning for a 2-week festival, STEM related. It's all free. TCAT Knoxville is the proud host of that in the East Tennessee region, and I think Chattanooga also has Remake Learning Days. But because of Christy Newman and the Arconic Foundation, she not only helps support that annual event, she ensures that our local school districts have busing opportunities and funding to make sure that those early elementary students and middle school students have the opportunity to be on a college campus to see what career exploration and other things is really all about. So we want to extend a heartfelt thank you to Arconic Foundation and Christy Newman for their support of TCAT Knoxville. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Cheney. Vice Chancellor Reynolds, that completes my report.
Thank you. Well done.
Philanthropy.
Well done as always. The
Chair,
Remake
Assistant
Learning
Chancellor.
Days sound fascinating. That sounds like a lot of fun. So good work to all. Thank you very much. We do not have any unfinished business to come before the board this afternoon, so we will move on to new business. And we have a policy with regard to general travel. Dr. Fox is going to introduce this to us, and we will need to take a vote on this action.
Thank you, Vice Chair Reynolds,
Thank you.
Chancellor, and members of the board. Next slide, sorry. Thank you. Today I'm presenting a proposed revision to the General Travel Policy 4.03.03.00. Your advanced materials included an executive summary of the changes and a copy of the revised policy. These revisions were developed through our policy review group and included representation from system office staff in finance, travel, audit, and legal, as well as campus business officers. It was reviewed and recommended by both the Business Affairs Subcouncil and the President's Council. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have on this policy revision.
Questions for Dr. Fox? If not, we will need a motion to approve the revision to the general travel policy.
So moved.
Thank you, Regent Burdine, and a second.
I'll second.
Regent Ross, thank you very much. Any discussion? Hearing none, this does require a roll call vote. Kate, will you do the honors?
Regent Burdine,
Aye.
Regent DeWitt. Aye. Regent George,
Aye.
Regent Harrell,
Aye.
Regent Hooper,
Aye.
Regent Kastner,
Aye.
Regent Kelchin,
Aye.
Regent Powers,
Aye.
Vice Chair Reynolds,
Aye.
Regent Roberts,
Aye.
Regent Spurgeon,
Aye.
Regent Stevenson,
Aye.
and Regent Barlin.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Dr. Fox. We'll see you back in just a minute. We, under new business, we also have some informational reporting this afternoon. As we know, our state legislature is in session, and our Executive Vice Chancellor, Kim McCormick, has an external affairs update for us with her team.
So good afternoon, Chancellor, Madam Chair, members of the board. As you know, we are in the 114th General Assembly. John just, it was kind of funny that a minute ago I said, John, which assembly are we on, 108? He said, we're on the 114th. So kind of showing my age there a little bit, but we, as you all know, we tell you every year we see sometimes around 3,000, sometimes a little more bills filed. Right now, we are tracking right at close to 700. But I will tell you this, it's not just me, it's not just John, it's not just Patrick, Sarah, and Mason. Our whole TBR staff is involved. We can't do without General Counsel Lapps to look at all of these bills that go through, but also every Friday we hold bill review. So we have staff members from all departments at TBR who keep a close eye on this legislation, and also representation from the presidents as well. And you all get reports from us after those Friday meetings. So it's really a team effort as we go through all of these bills every year. But right now, I think what we wanted to go ahead and do is go through just the few that we think are very important for you all. John is going to do that, and then I'm going to end with those that tend to impact boards. So, John, are you ready?
Thank you, Dr. McCormick, and good afternoon, Vice Chair Reynolds, Chancellor Tidings, members of the board. I appreciate you providing us the opportunity to give this legislative update today. As Dr. McCormick said, we're tracking right at 658 bills this session, so a lot of things out there right now, and they impact areas from workforce development, dual enrollment, financial aid, and institutional governance. So I'll provide a quick update on some of the most significant proposals we're monitoring this session. First up, Senate Bill 1312, House Bill 1324 is an administration bill, and this is Governor Lee's Tennessee Works proposal that was mentioned during the State of the State a couple of weeks ago. The intent of the legislation is to do a few things, so I'll walk you through those. First, it's to make the Tennessee Higher Education Commission the new governing board for the Tennessee Student Assistance Corporation, and terminates the current governing board of TSAC, so rolling them together. It renames the Wilder Nafee Technical Skills Grant to the Tennessee Works Scholarship. It eliminates the TCAT Reconnect Grant and removes the Tennessee Promise Awards from our TCATs, but it increases the new scholarship award amount for the Tennessee Works Scholarship to the equivalent of tuition and mandatory fees. And why that's exciting is that this proposal will make the award a first dollar scholarship, and that means if a student is eligible for a Pell Grant or other aid, they can use that money for books or tools or whatever they need to continue on in school. So we're excited about that one. Senate Bill 125, House Bill 474, that one directs the Tennessee Higher Education Commission, working with the Department of Labor and Workforce Development, to review all state-funded financial aid programs. And the goal is to look at how those can be expanded to fund some of our workforce credentials. It's something we've been looking at over the past couple of years, so that would direct a study to look into that a little more closely. Senate Bill 686, House Bill 148, would make the Tennessee Promise Completion Grant Program a permanent initiative rather than a 4-year pilot program. And as you'll remember, that program provides financial support to Pell-eligible students who may face immediate financial challenges or hardships that prevent them from completing their degree. Senate Bill 719, House Bill 704, would add Moore Tech in Shelby County as an eligible institution for receipt of the Wilder Nafee Reconnect Grant and the Wilder Nafee Technical Skills Grant. Senate Bill 803, House Bill 738, would allow students to use the Tennessee Promise Scholarship at in-state cosmetology and barbering schools that are accredited by the National Accrediting Commission of Career Arts and Sciences. However, this option would only be available if there are no open enrollment spots for students' desired program at the TCAT in their home county. So it'd be a limited program accessing the Promise program. Senate Bill 1085, House Bill 777, would allow students to use state-funded lottery financial aid at a private post-secondary institution in the state that are candidates for regional accreditation. Right now, most institutions would have to be regionally accredited. This would say if they're a candidate, they could use state-funded financial aid as the institution works towards full accreditation. This next one, the Tennessee Step Up Scholarship provides financial aid for students with documented intellectual disabilities to attend eligible post-secondary programs. Senate Bill 1151, House Bill 789 removes the requirement that a student must enroll within 16 months of finishing a high school diploma, so it would take that enrollment window away for those students. This next bill deals with the STRONG Act, which provides tuition reimbursement for eligible Tennessee National Guards members. Senate Bill 1291, House Bill 114 removes the program's sunset provisions of June 30th of this year, making it permanent, and then making a couple of key changes, which includes expanding reimbursement to cover certain undergraduate and master's program fees, and then defining what those fees are. This next bill, Senate Bill 1368, House Bill 1227, makes several updates to THEC's statutory responsibilities, and so I'll walk through a few of the highlights of this one. First, it expands the definition of quality non-degree credential. That's a definition we put in the code last year. This would expand that definition to include registered apprenticeships, occupational licensure, and certificates. It also ensures that searches for the THEC executive director role follow the same public notice and confidentiality rules as the university president's and chancellor searches. It changes THEC's role from a tuition setting range each year to a maximum increase of tuition each year, and allows flexibility for different types of institutions to have different ranges of tuition maxes based on their unique financial needs. And three other things. It removes the requirement that THEC prioritize capital projects for public higher education institutions, and instead focuses on evaluating academic, financial, and space needs of those projects. And then finally, it authorizes the commission to delegate certain duties to the executive director. One of those is to approve academic programs between commission meetings, and then also delegates the authority to approve off-campus locations. Senate Bill 1409, that one would expand the dual enrollment grant to include eligibility for high school sophomores if they decide to attend a community college. And we saw that one last year. And currently there's a tuition waiver at public colleges and universities that's available to the spouse or dependent children of veterans who were killed, died of service-related injuries, or were declared prisoners of war or missing in action. Senate Bill 295, House Bill 299 expands that waivers to include spouse and dependent children of veterans who serve with permanent and total service-connected disability during a qualified period of armed conflicts. Senate Bill 150, House Bill 75 allows students to use their scores on the classical learning test for eligibility requirements for certain state grants and scholarships, and also for admissions purposes. Only a few more, I promise. Senate Bill 644, House Bill 865 will allow for the expansion of nursing education programs through the dual enrollment by allowing a student to begin a pre-practical nursing program starting as early as the 10th grade. It permits students to enroll in a practical nursing program as long as they meet the requirements for high school graduation, admissions criteria for the program, and they're accepted into the program. Senate Bill 928, House Bill 1001, allows a high school student to substitute up to 4 CTE course credits for certain graduation requirements. Specifically, they could take a CTE course up to 4 credits in length in place of a chemistry course, a computer science course, world language, or algebra 2. Senate Bill 1077, House Bill 291, requires the American Institute of Civics at UT to Knoxville to develop course materials and curriculum for a course on American government and American history, and that mandates that all students at public universities take a course with that curriculum embedded into it. Senate Bill 472, House Bill 64, requires all educational programs in the state, regardless of type or duration, that allow minors to participate or access residential facilities to segregate all restrooms, changing areas, and showers by biological sex. And Senate Bill 937, House Bill 1270, states that faculty, staff, and students and contractors at a public institution of higher education are not required to use the preferred name of a student, faculty, staff member if that name differs from the individual's legal name. It also states that faculty, staff, and students are not required to use a student, faculty, or staff's preferred pronoun if that does not align with the person's biological sex. And then specifies that individuals cannot face civil liability or disciplinary action for using legal names or pronouns consistent with biological sex. So now I'll turn it back over to Dr. McCormick to walk through a few key bills specifically related to boards and governments. Thank you.
Did you all have any questions of the bills that John just went over?
No question, but there's some darn good bills in there.
I do have a question. This is Nisha.
Okay.
May I, Vice Chair?
Sorry, please go right ahead.
Okay, thank you. I heard mention of MoreTech, and I just wanted a little bit of clarification on what that was again, and also any impact to Southwest as it relates to MoreTech. Thank you.
Of course, Senate Bill 719, House Bill 704, that's the bill that would extend eligibility for the Wilder Navy Reconnect Grant and the Wilder Navy Technical Skills Grant to students who would decide to attend MoreTech.
So no real impact on Southwest, or?
Yes, it could have an impact upon Southwest, and we have always been opposed to these types of bills.
That's what I was wondering about. Okay. If you could just keep us folks in Memphis posted on any developments.
We most certainly will.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it, y'all.
Well, before we move on to these bills, I just wanted to remind everyone that we haven't told already that John Williams was just named Nashville Business Journal 40 under 40. So we're very proud of him. Yeah. And he also told me that he could only be there for 3 more weeks because he had a birthday coming. So I told him I was more jealous of him being 40 than winning that award. So. All right, so if we move on to these last few bills, we are very excited about Senate Resolutions 11, 12, and 13. These are the confirmation resolutions for the appointments of Regent Powers, Regent DeWitt, and Regent Harrell. And those confirmation hearings will be held on March the 12th. That's also the same day that we will be having our Senate budget hearings. All right, if we move on to Senate Bill 178, this is Senator Adam Lowe and Representative Elaine Davis requires a governing body subject to the open meetings laws to reserve a period of public comment to provide the public with the opportunity to comment on any matter germane to the jurisdiction of the governing body, regardless of whether the matter is listed on the agenda for the meeting. We are still able to place restrictions on the number of speakers and the length of time individuals are able to speak during the meeting. So this doesn't make any major changes to what we currently already do at TBR. This is calendared in the House Public Service sub today. Council Lapps, any comments? Okay. All right. Senate Bill 913, which is also House Bill 1006, would prevent anyone who serves on the governing board of any college or university, public or private, from also serving on the board of a state university. As we look at this currently with the code that is open, this affects LGIs. This has passed the House Higher Ed Subcommittee. It has not yet been calendared in full education. For it to affect TBR, it would have to be amended, and it has not been amended. We are, again, going to keep a very close eye on this one to see where it goes. So right now, again, it has not been calendared. Usually when a bill passes out of subcommittee, it automatically gets calendared on full committee, but the actual sponsor of the bill asked that that not happen until he has further conversations with folks about this one. Senate Bill 1316, this is an admin bill. It is known as the Less is More Act of 2025. The bill introduces multiple amendments across various sections of Tennessee law, primarily aimed at restructuring regulatory oversight and governance procedures. It revises the Open Meetings Act, which applies to our board specifically. It moves the need to ask the two questions to later in the statute, but we no longer have to declare and vote on a necessity to meet electronically, and requires that we redesign our standard notice of a meeting, but not in a material way. Council Labs, is that good? Okay, so this has not yet been calendared. All right, Vice Chair, that concludes our report unless there are any questions.
Additional questions for Kim and John? The team is hard at work.
Yes. And for the next 48 hours, they'll be all over running around like bugs, so
Exactly.
very proud of them.
Exactly.
Thank
So,
you.
and we look forward to seeing our state legislators tonight, so thank
Yes.
you all. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Brian and Dr. Reed, let's talk about AI, our new reality.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair Reynolds, Chancellor Tidings, and members of the board. We're excited. We have a two-part presentation for you around AI because I know you can't get enough of it. The first part of it will be with Brian Labs, where we're sharing an informational update on the draft AI policy that we are developing. You will not take any action on this today. That will come back to you at your next quarterly meeting because it is still moving through as a draft through the Joint Subcouncil and the Faculty Subcouncil. And then additionally, I would be highlighting the exciting AI initiatives happening across the TBR landscape led by Academic Affairs. And then I will be joined by Dr. Chuck Lopez, our Assistant Vice Chancellor for Academic Affairs. And then we look forward in the future, more interaction with you all in a more interactive format for AI at the President's and Board Retreat coming up soon. I just want to highlight quickly the members who helped develop this policy. It was very diverse in terms of composition and included academics, student success, legal, IT, policy and strategy, and faculty representation from the campuses. Before I go into the purpose, I would like Brian to first give us some framework for why we're doing this policy.
Yeah, you'll be asked, as Jothany said, to vote on it at the June board meeting because we're required to implement an AI policy by June 30th in accordance with the statute that passed last year. The statute requires that we establish pedagogical guidelines for the use of AI. So even though it requires that we pass something mostly dealing with the teaching aspect, we've taken this as an opportunity to provide some more guidelines and rules for the use of AI in areas other than the classroom.
Thank you, Brian. So the approach that TBR is taking with our AI policy is that there is transformative potential of AI as a tool to empower our students, our faculty, and our staff in realizing their aspirations. This policy, as Brian shared, will share adaptable guidelines to ensure the both responsible and impactful integration of AI into TBR and its colleges, while making sure we uphold the highest standards of ethics, academic integrity, security, and privacy. I'm going to share in the actual document that you have, we've also identified the definitions that we would look for everybody to use as we talk about AI, generative AI, private generative AI systems, and confidential information, so that is available there. And I'm going to highlight at a very broad level what is in this policy so we can all begin to socialize around what we're looking at and give you all a chance for any feedback on that. The first section of it is on general information. We have several components. Section A is on the responsible use of AI, where we are making sure that our colleges prioritize the ethical, efficient, and responsible use of AI, whether that's in educational outcomes, in learning, teaching, ethical research, and administrative processes. Section B is AI as a tool, We do see this as a supportive tool, but not a substitute for critical or creative thinking. Section 3 is that it must align to other TBR policies, and we provide a list of all the other policies that this has alignment with. Section D is on AI procurement, that any AI tools that colleges or the system office would purchase or procure must follow TBR's procurement policies and be approved by the IT department. Section E is on IT oversight, that our IT department, led by John Kaliski, could restrict or prohibit any AI tools that they feel will compromise any governance standards or security risks. And then Section F, we are working on an exhibit to show what are restrictive or approved tools. As you can imagine, the AI world, this changes daily. So rather than update the policy as new things come out, we will update the exhibit that's more informational to really provide that guidance. The second part of this policy is on protection of confidential information and copyrighted material. Section A is on confidential information, where we're saying do not put confidential information into any AI tools, as it can be stored and used to train that system. Section B is on library license agreements, making sure that users know uploading licensed library materials could be a violation and that they're responsible for understanding those usage terms. Section C is making sure everyone understands copyright compliance, to respect copyright laws and understand fair use limitations when using AI. Section D is on consequences, that the misuse of these AI tools may result in violations of privacy laws, loss of intellectual property rights, infringement of others' rights, or breaches of licensing agreements or copyright laws. The next section, which is probably the one that's probably really interesting to a lot of folks across the state, is on instructional and classroom use of the AI tools. Section A is on faculty guidance, that faculty are encouraged to teach students responsible, ethical, and proficient use of AI tools when aligned with their policies, course objectives, and academic goals. B is on faculty discretion. Faculty will retain broad authority to define how AI tools, including generative AI, can be used for assignments, research, exams, and other academic activities. I want to highlight that really shows the authority faculty have in the classroom, but also the threshold. So that could be allowed AI or not at all. So that is the faculty's purview in that area. Section C is on communicating AI use policies. Faculty must clearly communicate acceptable and unacceptable AI use in their courses, preferably in syllabi and course policies, and to make sure that students are aware of the violations of that academic practices can result in consequences around discipline. Faculty will have access to AI-related resources, including training, tool recommendations, and syllabus guidance provided by the TBR AI Collaborative that you will hear from in just a little while. And faculty and administrators should also recognize the limitations of these AI detection tools that can produce false positives and negatives. So we will highlight all of the work we have to help faculty continue to train and engage in AI at a threshold that they feel comfortable with. The next section is on the use of generative artificial intelligence in research. That essentially that you must ethically use this in your research and attribute citations when doing that. Also, there's a responsibility for any AI-generated data that researchers will remain accountable for the accuracy and reliability and fairness of AI-generated data, because we know they can produce false data as well. And D is on data integrity and security, that all principal investigators and researchers must ensure the confidentiality, privacy, and the security of data. The last section is on the use of generative AI for employees. A is on permitted use. All employees are encouraged to use AI tools, including generative AI, to enhance the efficiency and productivity in compliance with all TBR policies. B, we do mention disciplinary action, that improper use of AI tools may result in disciplinary action under applicable policies. And C, resource availability, that the TBR AI Collaborative will provide all employees with training materials, tool recommendations, and resources for how to use AI efficiently. Again, this is going through the joint committees and the faculty subcouncils. This just highlights all of the different representatives across the state who have had the first read of this draft. They have 3 months to review it at their college, provide me feedback for an updated integrated draft that will go out to the next subcouncil of those joint and faculty subcouncils. After that, it will go to the president's council for their review and approval, and then we'll come back to you all in June. Again, we don't normally bring policies to you as information. They typically come here just for action. But with this being such an interesting policy and one that is really dominating the national conversation, we wanted you all to have a chance to hear the direction we're going with TBR. Before I go into the second part, let me pause for any feedback, reactions, or questions around the draft policy, if there are any.
First, Dr. Reed, thank you so much for presenting all of this new information in regards to AI. As I know, a lot of people, especially in the academic space, are primarily concerned with how it affects not only the quality of the education, but also the quality of the metrics to measure that education. And that's really what the concern for me is. It's really confirming to hear that there are acknowledgments that the AI detection tools have just as many flaws as the AI generative tools. A lot of very well performing academic students that I happen to know have been negatively impacted by false positives on exam papers that result in immediate academic approval for, whether or not they had plagiarized the entire essay. So the inclusion of the mention of detection tools being just as nubile and prone to many different problems as the rest of the generative AI is very important to include in that, and I hope it continues to stay in that bill.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, if there are other questions or comments before we go to part two. So we've highlighted several times that we are going to be providing the guidance to really support not only faculty, but staff and administration on how to use AI in really effective ways. At this time, I will be joined by Dr. Chuck Lopez.
I'm here.
Okay, that's reassuring. I can find you. So here we want to talk about what are we doing across the landscape of TBR in the AI space. And so let me highlight that. One, I wanted to talk about, if you look at it, AI is on the rise, if that's not the understatement of the decade, right? So if you look at what AI really got introduced in 2015 around Alexa and look at it today, you can see the tremendous growth on this graph. 2 years ago, about 100 million people used ChatGPT. Today, over 300 million are using it. And I used it for this presentation. It is a great tool. So again, it is growing and we need to be aware of that. The other thing that's really important, and this is a message we need to continue to talk about, is the perspective of employers. Graduates across all disciplines are going to need AI to compete for jobs and to stay relevant. I just want to highlight just a few examples of where do we see AI, and it's not ChatGPT. When we look at healthcare, you see the greatest growth in the healthcare area where they're using AI to assist in disease diagnosis and precision medicine. You look across manufacturing, they're using it for automation and smart manufacturing processes. Entertainment disciplines are looking at it for content creation, personalization, and audience engagement. Agriculture is using AI in their drone sampling techniques, and autonomous systems and technology obviously has AI integration across the sector. So this is not an isolated tool that is going away. This is an integral skill set that we have to have in our program so that our graduates are competitive in the market. When we look at what are employers saying about AI, the feedback is that upskilling is key in AI. When we looked at Amazon's Access Partner Survey that they did around AI, that employers had 93% expect to use generative AI in the workplace in the next 3 to 5 years, and 45% of all employers expect generative AI significantly to work across all of their functions in their organization. We looked at Microsoft's Work Trends survey. Over 75% of employers in that survey stated they are having trouble finding graduates with AI skills, and they see it as an essential skill set. Well, what are students saying about AI? We wanted to highlight from the Cengage Employability Survey that 70% of college graduates want generative AI training integrated into their courses, and 69% shared they need more guidance on how to work with these new technologies and AI. We also have a Tech Talk Tuesday. That is where we once a month host a TED Talk around AI, and we invite all of our stakeholders. We actually have a lot of LGI faculty come to TBRs Tech Tuesdays to learn more about how we're doing this work. And we're being reached out from multiple states across the nation on what TBR is doing in this space, asking to see our policy, our practices, and the AI team that I'll introduce you to briefly have all been very integral, presented, and most recently at Achieving the Dream and about 6 other national conferences where people are already looking at Tennessee for how we're guiding this. So here we look at a student feedback. Mally is a Vol State student, and in December she was interviewed, and she shared that she actually sees a lot of AI in the medical field right now, which is where she's leaning towards her career. She says, I don't want to say it feels like competition, but it definitely feels like I'm going to have to learn how to use this, or I'm going to have to find something else to do. So let's see. Well, the auto didn't play, but I'm sure she sounds like me, so we'll keep going. I do want to introduce Dr. Chuck Lopez at this time to give a very brief oversight of some of the initiatives around AI and the training that we're providing to support folks. And Chuck Lopez leads the team, and that includes Jamie Nelson, Sarah Hazelton, Aaron Hughes, and Pari Brott. I believe I've got that right. And so again, we have a core group from Academic Affairs that goes all over the land sharing the story of AI so that we can be more efficient and productive in using it. So Dr. Lopez will give a highlight of this day.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm glad to be here and to be able to share some of the ideas that we have going on. So it was about January of 2023 when I was in a meeting and somebody said, students are using this chat something or other in their classrooms, and what do we do? Well, we quickly realized that what it was and that it wasn't going anywhere. And like me, those that are seasoned educators realized, well, we've gone back to the place where we were when we had handheld calculators coming in the classroom and thought it was the end of higher ed. Well, I think we've gone past that now, and we've seen the value of AI in our classrooms. We began in June having listening sessions across the state with faculty, with administrators, with IT folks, trying to find out what was going on their campuses, what were some of their concerns. Some of the data that Dr. Reed shared with us, we already realized that just from the conversations that we had. What we realized was that, and you've probably already heard this now, AI is not going to take jobs, but those people with those AI skills will be the ones getting the jobs. So we wanted to make sure that our faculty were trained and our students were trained in the skills they need in their careers. Starting in November of 23, we began our Tech Talk Tuesdays. These have been great because we've actually taken information that faculty and staff are sharing with us and then developing out the training. So initially it began with how do you use the tools? Then we began talking about some of the ethical considerations. We began to talking about better writing prompts, how to integrate AI into the classroom. And part of that conversation has been focused around exactly what you're talking about. How do you ensure that there's competencies being met, and what does that look like in the classroom? Moving kind of away from that multiple choice test that we always hear about, and what does that look like? And faculty have been very engaged in that conversation. It's been very creative. The chart here on the slide, you can see that we have everybody in those Tech Talk Tuesdays from adventurers to skeptics. But that's been a great session. We've had about 13 of these sessions. As Dr. Reed said, it's been attended by community colleges, LGI partners. The word is out. We've got individuals from across the nation kind of sneaking in and participating. Glad to have them and hear what we have going on. We've had over 600 faculty that have been attending our sessions. We've gone out to campuses and visited with faculty, sharing some of our information that we have, listening to what they have to say, and contributing. We've also done a number of national presentations and one international conference. So we've been really excited about the work that we're doing here in Tennessee to promote success for our students. Some of the next steps, as part of the policy, we're developing a database to share some of those best practices so a faculty member can get on and find out, well, you know, I've got this gen ed course, how can I integrate AI into my gen ed course? And so they're able to do that. And we're really seeing a lot of ideas being promoted that way. We also want to identify partners within the community, finding out what the different skill sets are that the industry needs, building that into and sharing that with faculty, finding a way to identify students' AI literacy so that they can be identified in some type of certificate program, competency-based for our faculty, are all different ideas that we have and that we're moving forward on. So at that point, are there questions?
I have a quick question. I think it's a quick question. Just, I'm curious what you are seeing as we look across the landscape of our institutions and the adoption level of our faculty. You know, I think you had the one metric as to dabblers versus adventurers. And was that across the system with students included, or was that really more a view of the faculty?
Those were actually the people attending our
Your conferences.
Our TikTok Tuesdays.
So I'm kind of curious about, you know, it's such a paramount importance that our faculty are going beyond maybe what they feel comfortable with to adopt and integrate some of this functionality and the
Yeah, and
power.
I think it's just like anytime you get a new opportunity to integrate new practices, it's a range of responses. The threshold is from exactly that skeptical and real concern around academic integrity and how that's being used and how do they support that in the classroom or maybe not support it at all at this stage until they see more work in this space, all the way to the folks that are leaning right in and helping to drive this work for other faculty. So as we have gone through the first review of the policy, I'm able to hear that we really have that true range across the faculty ranks, and that's to be expected and normal. And our role really is to continue to facilitate these opportunities for them to engage and learn about it and how they can help students use it as a complement to their learning and not a substitute for critical thinking, which is really the heart of where some maybe some concern will be. And again, as he highlighted, we also want to make sure it's not just student and faculty focused, how are administrators and staff leaning into AI for productivity and efficiency of processes. And so we're actually doing a training next month with all of the college presidents and their VPs and the TBR leadership staff. And then at the board retreat, I will be doing some AI engagement with you all, with the team, so that you all can play a bit and see what your threshold is around learning with AI. So
I was just going to say, can I come attend your training? Absolutely, that would be great.
I would just like to compliment you guys because community colleges, you're a trusted convener. And I know in my role at the Jackson Chamber, we still integrate with small businesses and manufacturers that don't understand AI. And it's our belief, just like you said, that AI is not going to take people's jobs, but the folks that understand AI will get those jobs. And we look at it from a community standpoint. The better a community understands and embraces AI, the more competitive they will be. We're partnering with Jackson State on a course. I think we start in a couple of weeks on a course at the Jackson Chamber. And I'll tell you, we've been utilizing AI resources for 2 years. Vicki Bunch, when she was with us, is an early adopter. So if you need any more internal help, I think Vicki, probably since she's on your team now, would be great.
Thank you. Any other questions or feedback?
Go ahead, Jeremy.
I was trying to follow along and read and just to make sure I understand this. This is draft policy, right?
Yes.
As this is drafted currently, it looked, I can't remember which space it was as we were moving through it, but it looked as if it would allow faculty, any specific faculty member, the ability to completely restrict the use of AI, essentially ban the use of AI in their classroom.
Yes, they have that authority to do
right?
that.
I would like to know more about the why of that. We don't have to do that right now, but
Sure.
between now and the next meeting, I would like to know more about the thought
Sure,
process.
we'll be happy to share that. And again, going back to the threshold, this is very new, and for many faculty, they're still learning how to use AI and engage, which is why we're spending a lot of our capacity on the training of it, so they can get more comfortable. And hopefully the goal are those who are skeptics today, down the road will figure out ways to use the tools and effective ways in teaching and learning to do that.
Thank you. That made me think of one more question. Does the, and I didn't see this in here, but if a specific faculty member can essentially ban it, the use in their specific class, does it give the
an institution president the ability to ban it at the school?
So the policy is not written for the president to override individual faculty class. So that section is specific to faculty to determine their classroom threshold for AI. Now, the president certainly, as the policy will say, that the college is open to that, but it's for those who are embracing it at this point.
You done, Jeremy? Okay. I've always had, this is not a good thing, I've always had a tendency to avoid things I don't understand. I guess that's because I'm 67 years old, but at least spring chicken, at least I admit it, but I think you're on the right track, I really do. And I enjoyed the presentation, even though Regent Spurgeon pulled me aside there just a minute ago he ran an artificial intelligence report on me. And I read it, and I'll be darned, it's accurate. It's accurate. So thank you. He's going to show me afterwards how the heck he did it, so I can do it to all of you all. So, thank you. You're on the right track.
Thank you.
If I could add a brief comment here. So is it correct in my understanding that the faculty may have the purview to allow certain uses, but the IT department have to approve just the larger bodies that are applicable to the classroom? Or is it up to like a specific faculty member to say, if you want to use ChatGPT, that's fine, just don't put anything that's going to like compromise your individual information or your academic record or things like that?
Sure.
Because it seems like you're putting a lot of, and this is very likely me not understanding the breadth of this policy, but it seems like there's two levels of approval, one in the very individual classroom setting and another in the cybersecurity information, ensuring we don't have essentially a massive FERPA breach as students just plaster their academic record on the walls. So is there like multiple levels of that confirmation? Are faculty able to, at their discretion, approve specific websites, or is it only once it's been approved can they be utilized in the AI department?
Sure. So it's a range. So faculty within their classroom can determine what's appropriate use of AI. Where IT comes in is when the college is procuring AI tools or programming that's going to be on the college equipment. So again, for the faculty to say this is restricted or not restricted, we're not monitoring students' ability to access a ChatGPT. But again, when you get to a college, one that maybe do an internal ChatGPT just to the organization, IT would be a part of that approval process. And Brian, you want to add to that?
Yeah, I would add, there's also a lot more ability for the president and other senior administration to limit the use, to structure the use for staff and administration as opposed to the classroom learnings. So you would not, we do expect that the IT directors will, and the CIOs will, put out things, don't use this one on state equipment, et cetera, those types of things for at least faculty and staff. So there is more, because of academic freedom, there is a different standard for faculty than it is for others. We also wanted to take the attitude of, we want to embrace AI because failure to do that would not be in the best interest of the students. So we need to err on the side of allowing people to use AI, not being so restrictive that people don't learn how to use it.
And I want to just lean in a little bit, Jeremy, to your comment that you made. The reason for allowing faculty to ease into this, if you can think back, and you may not even remember this, but back when calculators first began to be used in the classroom, faculty had the option to phase that in. We didn't all of a sudden say, now everybody has to use them. There were still a lot of people that they did not want a calculator brought into the classroom, period, because it did not fit with the way that they taught. A lot of what Jothny said about going out and trying to work with faculty to help them understand how to use this in a way that's productive for everyone and not automatically assume that a student's cheating if they have used some tool in the classroom. And then we talk about AI and everybody hear that, and that's the new, this is exciting and great. But if you've been using Alexa and Google Assistant, you're using AI and you've been using it for years and years, Nobody walked around saying you were using AI. So this is just taking it to the next level. When you start with using ChatGPT and the others that are on the market now, it's just taking it quickly to that next level. And again, we've got to be prepared. We've got to have people ready and going down the road to do it. But there may still be some faculty members in 3 years that just do not believe a composition can be written well if the student is not sitting in their desk with their pencil and their paper. And they're learning, so that we're not going to go back and force them into something.
Madam Chair, that concludes my report unless there are further questions or comments.
That was a very good report. You're gonna have to bring this, not just spring chicken, but old chicken along on some of this. So this was a very good start, and as Miles reflected, thanks for all you guys are doing to keep us ahead of things, hopefully a little bit.
Yes, and the word is a seasoned chicken.
There you,
We don't do
seasoned.
old
Thank
chickens.
you. Okay, thank you.
There
I
you
like
go.
that. I like that. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Lopez. Well done. We have a final informational item, and with a little bit of background around it as we approach tuition and fee recommendations slightly differently this year. But Dr. Fox, once again, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Vice Chair Reynolds, Chancellor, members of the board. Happy to be in front of you again. I do only have one informational item today, but it is a rather lengthy informational item. So I will try to go as quick as possible, but we do have a lot of information to cover. But all of the slides and supplementary documents were included in your meeting materials in advance of today. So in the interest of time, I'm not going to read every data point on every slide, and I'll just hit the highlights. But even with those, we do have quite a few slides and quite a bit of material. Okay, next slide. So first, we're going to move into the informational presentation. Again, this is informational. We will not be taking any action on this today. For the recommended tuition and fee rates for annual year 25-26. Next slide, please. No, thank you, Kasadi. To begin, I want to quickly review the general financial environment that drove these tuition and fee recommendations. For the second fall in a row, both the community colleges and TCATs saw enrollment increases. Our community colleges and TCATs saw an average enrollment increase of 7% in fall 24 compared to fall 23. This is very encouraging news, especially for our community colleges as they have faced several years of declines during the pandemic. Remaining fairly consistent for FY25 to 26, higher education received continuous state support in the governor's recommended budget, as the total sector's recommended $52.8 million in state appropriations for the upcoming year for the outcomes formula and partial funding of a statewide salary increase. The TBR system specifically is recommended for over $24.7 million in recurring new operating, including partial funding for a 2.6% salary pool. Next slide. To provide some historical data, slide 6 includes a chart comparing tuition increases in FY16 to FY25. As you will see here, you can see the cumulative percent and dollar amount increase over that same period. The annual average percent change at our community colleges was 2.65% and 2.2% at our TCATs. As you can see on this chart, and you may recall from last year's discussion, the 5.2% average increase for our current year was a bit of an outlier, as THEC expanded the binding range up to 5.5% last year to provide our colleges the flexibility to address the impact of the new overtime rules that increased the minimum salary for exempt employees. Next slide, please. At their November 24 commission meeting, THEC voted to set a guiding tuition range of 0 to 4%. As previously discussed, THEC intended to move their binding range vote up to their winter meeting to accommodate requests from higher education institutions to set this prior to our proposed budget development period. This vote was originally scheduled for February 7th. However, the governor's budget was not released at that time, so THEC deferred their vote on setting the binding tuition range, and that has now been scheduled for March 19th. With that as background, it was already our intent to present the FY26 tuition and fee recommendations as informational only at this meeting. And as you are aware, we have a special session on March 27th where we'll take official action on our tuition rates. What I'm presenting today is informational, and again, the binding range should be set in the next couple of weeks, and these recommendations are with that in mind. Next slide, please. Now that we've finished the background information, we will first discuss the mandatory fee request submitted by our colleges and recommended for approval by TBR staff. As a reminder, any mandatory fee approvals are factored into our overall binding range rate number. We add tuition and mandatory fees together, and therefore changes in either one impact the total percent change. Since we calculate tuition increases by hourly rates first, the board could approve the staff recommended tuition increase as well as the two mandatory fee change requests presented today and remain in compliance with that THET guiding range. You have one mandatory fee increase and one mandatory fee decrease in your materials, and I will discuss those briefly on the next slide. The first request is an increase to the international education fee at Jackson State Community College. Staff support this fee as it was supported by the majority of the student body surveyed and in line with other colleges' international ed rates. This fee was established at Jackson State in 2011 and has not increased since that time. This increase will support the growing demand for global learning opportunities at Jackson State Community College. Participation in TNSIS study abroad programs has increased significantly, and the additional funds will provide scholarships to ensure equitable access for students. This adjustment will also enhance on-campus international programming, such as cultural events, workshops, and guest lectures. Broad support for this increase, as documented by a campus-wide survey of students and employees, reflects that the shared recognition of the transformative value of international education. The second request is a reduction in the international education fee at Southwest Community College. A 5-year analysis of revenue and expense was prepared by the college, and it showed that the fund balance for the international fee fund had been increasing annually, indicating a need to reduce the amount charged to students. The participation in the international travel and programming at Southwest has not returned to pre-pandemic levels, and they are seeing much less participation in this program than they previously had. Southwest has determined that by reducing the fee, this will bring a cost savings to students, and the new revenue estimate will be sufficient to run their program. Before I move into non-mandatory fees, I'd be happy to answer any questions you have on mandatory fees. Perfect. Next, we'll review the non-mandatory fee request for the colleges recommended for approval by TBR staff. And these are very small on the screen, I can see that, but you did have this in your materials. These do not factor into the binding fee range as they are tied specifically to a course or an activity, and they are not charged to every student enrolled at the college. These recommendations include the elimination of 2 fees and the approval of 5 new miscellaneous non-mandatory course fees. The slide in your materials details the courses for which these fees would apply, as well as how the colleges determine the amount of the fee. For the community colleges, they followed the standardization work last year that our community college fee task force worked on and proposed standardized fees. For the TCATs, the president's group and program curriculum chairs worked together to discuss and make requests as a group on behalf of all TCATs offering the noted programs. The general need described for these fees is to cover a portion of the rising cost of consumable supplies needed to operate these programs. Annual program operating budgets were reviewed by the colleges and used to analyze the cost of consumables utilized in the program. The one exception here being the Northeast State Community College online course fee. You may recall last March that the Community College Fee Task Force brought the standardized fee proposal forward, and that included the reinstatement of the online course fee at a standardized $25 credit hour rate. Last year, 10 of our 13 community colleges implemented this fee. At that time, Northeast asked to evaluate their fee need on their campus and chose not to submit a request last year. As has been noted previously, these courses do come with significant technical cost as well as instructor and support staff cost above and beyond standard in-person courses. This fee would align Northeast with the majority of the other community colleges in the system currently charging this fee and provide needed funds to pay for necessary technology and maintenance upgrades for these courses. TBR staff has reviewed the request and find the request to be reasonable and in line with other TCAT and community college miscellaneous course fees. Happy to answer any questions on non-mandatory fees before we move into tuition. Yay, I'll take it. And the good news is we're doing this all right now, so the meeting on March 27th will be really quick. So now we're moving into the draft tuition recommendations for annual year 25-26. Next slide, please. First, I'll provide a little background on the framework around how we calculate these recommendations. As this slide notes, the three-step process involves identifying the difference between salary pool appropriation provided and the actual cost, inflationary impacts on cost of goods and services, and any other specific institutional needs to determine the total revenue or funding need. Step 2 includes translating that total funding need to the level of increase needed in student revenue percent. And then finally, in step 3, translates the student revenue percent into the dollar amount change in hourly tuition or maintenance fee rate. Next slide, please. As previously as described on the previous slide, step 1 in our process involves the estimated calculation of the cost of the salary pool increase versus the amount of state appropriation received toward that salary pool. This chart shows that calculation by individual community college and includes the average difference among the 13. You can see in the far bottom right column that 1.3% of the 2.6% pool required for our community colleges was unfunded through appropriation, meaning our colleges would need to fund that amount through other revenue sources. Next slide, please. The next slide shows that same calculation, but for our individual TCATs. You can see here that 0.9% of the 2.6% pool required was unfunded through appropriation for our TCATs and would require other revenue sources. Next slide. Continuing on step 1, the calculation process includes the estimate of expense increases or fixed costs due to inflation. So as background, the system office calculates inflation using the average of the HEPI and CPI. So for purposes of this discussion, the Higher Education Price Index, or HEPI, is an inflation index designed specifically for use by institutions of higher education. Compiled from data reported by government agencies and industry sources, HEPI measures the average relative level and the price of a fixed market basket of goods and services purchased by colleges and universities each year through their E&G, or education and general expenditures, excluding research. Many find this to be a much more accurate indicator of cost changes for colleges and universities than the CPI. The Consumer Price Index, or CPI, is a measure of the average change over time in the prices paid by urban consumers for a market basket of consumer goods and services. As you can see on this slide, at the time of calculation, the HEPI rate was 3.41% and the CPI was 3%, for an average of 3.21%. Historically, TBR staff has calculated the share of inflation to replace at 80% in an effort to encourage our colleges to identify efficiencies and cost savings as part of their budget process. Next slide, please. The next 2 slides show a summary of the step 1 calculations and the indicated student revenue increase in both percent and dollars, first for the community colleges and then for the TCATs in aggregate. This slide explains that to remain revenue neutral for annual year 25-26 as compared to the current year, our community colleges would need a 1.28% increase to cover their portion of the state salary pool, 1.93% to cover 80% of inflationary increases, and 0.29% for program initiatives, which would include adjustments needed related to college-specific initiatives. Examples may include new academic program startups, new student support programs, and competitive salary range adjustments. This shows a total need of 3.5%. Next slide, please. As noted previously, slide 19 is showing you the same calculation for our TCATs, with the percents being very similar to that of the community colleges and showing a total need of 3.5%. The next 2 slides show the same information, a summary of step 1 and step 2 calculations in dollars, but are shown by individual community college on the current slide and for TCATs on the following slide. Again, this slide shows you the calculation by individual TCAT and was provided in your materials. Next slide. This brings us to the draft recommended tuition rates for annual year 25-26. The following slides show the credit hour and trimester rate change in dollars for the community colleges and the TCATs respectively. The current slide shows you the dollar amount change at the community colleges for all tuition types. As you can see here, the recommended tuition increase results in approximately $6 increase per credit hour at the community colleges for in-state tuition and mandatory fees, up to 12 hours. Over 12 hours, it's a $1 increase. We will discuss the out-of-state tuition recommendation in detail in the following slide. And then please note at the bottom, the Regents Online or Tennessee eCampus, E-Rate, and dual enrollment all follow the same in-state recommendation and increase at 3.5%. This slide shows the total dollar amount per trimester rate change for our TCATs, which is $47 per trimester. Next slide. Slide 25 shows the dollar amount change as well as the percent change broken down by individual school for the community colleges. The average annual increase at the community colleges would be $163. You will note that the combined totals differ minimally among the community colleges due to any mandatory fees previously approved and being assessed. You will also see the $141 annual increase for the TCATs at the bottom of this chart. And before we move into out-of-state tuition, I'll be happy to answer any questions you have about our in-state recommendation. Keep it going. All right. So as you may recall, for the current year, FY25, staff recommended a freeze on the out-of-state tuition rate to continue our research on the out-of-state rate trends among our state's public universities, as well as community college rates at bordering states to Tennessee. The impetus for this research came from several sources, including requests from our college presidents to review the rate, an EdTrust study in 2023 highlighting significant gaps between TBR's out-of-state rate versus other public higher education state rates, as well as the recent trend among Tennessee public universities to review and ultimately reduce their out-of-state rates. Without going into too much detail, I'm going to speak briefly on how our out-of-state rate is calculated and how we arrived at this recommendation. I should also caveat this conversation to note that we are only talking about our community colleges. As you know, our TCATs have a single tuition rate. So this chart is showing the current FY25 in-state and out-of-state rates per credit hour. You can see that the base in-state rate, which is up to 12 hours, is $185 per credit hour. The out-of-state rate is $726 per credit hour. To determine the actual out-of-state cost per credit hour, you have to add $185 and $726, which equals $911 a credit hour as the total out-of-state rate. That is why you'll sometimes hear the out-of-state rate referred to as a premium. It is a dollar increase on top of the in-state rate. In percentage term, our current rates, TBR has a 292% premium on our out-of-state tuition rate above in-state. By comparison, public university premiums averaged $762 a credit hour and a 79% premium. The draft recommendation before you today includes a 79% premium on our out-of-state tuition using the current in-state rate of $185. This is a 54% reduction in our current approved out-of-state rate versus our proposed new out-of-state rate. I will conclude by saying that this was originally brought forward by our colleges for consideration and has been reviewed by presidents and CFOs over many months, with the majority supporting this rate and seeing it as another tool to competitively attract more students, improve affordability, and respond to labor market needs across Tennessee. And I want to thank all of our colleges for the feedback that they provided as we conducted this research. That concludes my presentation on maintenance fees, out-of-state tuition, and non-mandatory fees. Happy to answer any questions about the out-of-state rate or any of the other fees I brought today.
Thoughts, questions this afternoon? That's a lot to take in, even having all the material. Yes, sir.
Not a question, but I did have a lot of questions, and I think you spent an hour and a half plus with me helping me understand this, so I just want to say thank you for that time.
Welcome. That's what I'm here for. Anytime.
Thank you, Regent Harrell. Anyone else? All right, continue to study. As Jeremy just said, she's available for questions up to and including our special called meeting late next month.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dr. Fox. Good work as always. Thank you all. All right, everybody, hang in there here for a few more minutes as we have 2 action items to complete our day. Dr. Reed returns as we talk about someone who has given a remarkable 47 years of service to the Tennessee Board of Regents.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. As part of the faculty emerita nomination, we have a policy that guides the submission and approval of this process. Just as a reminder to the board, college presidents nominate these candidates based on distinguished institutional service. Presidents may confer with other staff on the campus, but it is solely their decision. Although there are no specific criteria for this honor, selection is historically based on length of service, significant contributions, outstanding academic achievement, and exceptional embodiment of the institution. Non-monetary benefits may be provided at the discretion of the president. Some examples we've seen across the state are office space, library privileges, free admissions to arts and athletic events, ID card with honorary title. Nominations are reviewed by my office and require the chancellor and board's approval due to the prestige of this title. It is my honor to recommend to the board Barbara Burrow, Professor of Languages and Literature at Southwest Tennessee Community Colleges, for 47 years of extraordinary contributions to the college. That's my report, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Is Dr. Hall still here? Would you like to add anything to this nomination? Sorry, I didn't mean to throw you a curveball. Just thought you might have a word about your professor.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Chancellor and the board members. It is a pleasure to recommend Barbara Roseborough. 47 years is a lifetime to do one thing, and we have appreciated her service to the college. She had been instrumental in our work previously with SAC-CLC and helping us in our previous accreditation to gain, be reaccredited without any reports. And she has done a wonderful job with our students, very engaged with our students. And so we appreciate Barbara Roseborough, and we are sorry to see her go, but we wish her well, and we thank you for your consideration of our recommendation.
Thank you, Dr. Hall. Thank you, Dr. Reed. We need a motion to approve the faculty emerita status for Professor Roseborough.
I'll move.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Motion from Ross and a second from Regent Hooper. Thank you both. Any further discussion? Caden, I'm sorry, were you going to say something?
I'm all right.
Okay, thank you. I beg your pardon. So if no further discussion, we have a motion and a second. Let's approve this then for Professor Roseborough. And Kate, one more time, would you call the roll?
Regent Burdine.
Aye.
Regent DeWitt. Aye. Regent George.
Aye.
Regent Harrell.
Aye.
Regent Hooper.
Aye.
Regent Kastner.
Aye.
Regent Kelchin.
Aye.
Regent Powers.
Aye.
Vice Chair Reynolds.
Aye.
Commissioner Reynolds.
Aye.
Regent Roberts.
Aye.
Regent Spurgeon.
Aye.
Regent Stevenson.
Aye.
Regent Barlin. Motion carries.
All right, thank you. Dr. Reed?
Yes, and I do want to acknowledge you, Madam Chair. She had the great recommendation to add the picture of faculty, which we have not done before, so the board can really see these exceptional faculty across the state. So I'm going to be asking all presidents who can hear my voice the next time they submit to submit a beautiful photo of their faculty, because it's really a good chance to see who these folks are across the state. So thank you for that wonderful recommendation.
Thank you. Well, and to the team for running a photo down. I know it was a little bit of a wild chase here over the last 24 hours, so much appreciated. And to Dr. Hall, once again, please give Professor our high regards and our profound thanks. This is an honor well deserved.
Right. Thank you. I will move into the next board item, which is the TCAT program approval. As you know, the TBR policy guides technical college program review and approval. Also, TCAT's accrediting body, the Council on Occupational Education, which you often hear as COE, requires documentation of approval from the governing agency. In your packet, you have 22 program proposals and 13 program modifications that require the board's approval. Since that's in your materials, it's there for your review. But it's important to know that these proposals really allow the technical colleges to be more responsive to the needs of students, businesses, and industry. That concludes my report.
Thank you very much. Any questions for Dr. Reed on the program approvals? Hearing none, this is also a non-controversial and routine item. And I would propose, if there are no objections, we also approve these by unanimous consent. But of course, if there's any objection, we will have a roll call vote. Hearing none, the TCAT program approvals are adopted. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. So our next meeting is Thursday, March 27. You should have that all on your calendars. And again, we'll be working on the tuition and fees we just discussed. But we have a big evening ahead of us and a big day tomorrow. Chancellor, fill us in.
We do, and it is truly an exciting week. Thanks to each of you for planning to participate, for being here today, and we're so looking forward to finding out who our Student of the Year, our faculty, and our Staff of the Year, and then most importantly, our Colleges of the Year will be announced tomorrow night. A lot of excitement among our presidents. They are all holding their breath to see if they will take home the coveted trophy. And it was a hard decision this year because we have so much great work going on within the system. I also, too, want to extend my thanks to Kate and to Mary Ann and to all who have helped support the board in Mariah's absence. We have gotten sent several pictures of that beautiful baby, and Mom and baby are doing great. So we thank them for what they're doing and look forward to her return. That's really all I have. You do have copies of the shuttle service in all of your materials. Your room reservations, hopefully there'll be no hiccups when you get to the hotel. If there are, please contact one of us and we will make sure that we take care of any issues as they arise. Looking forward to a great reception tonight with our legislators. Thank you all.
Any questions with regard to the schedule from the board? All right. As always, thank you all for your active participation. If there is no other business to come before the board, we are adjourned. Thank you all. See you shortly.